Hi everyone, my name is Aaliyah and I just wanted to share about my family. My parents immigrated to the US from the Philippines in the 90s, and this was a really defining experience for them. Like many immigrant families, my parents have a hard time with throwing things away. They like to cling to objects well past their use and are really good at recycling. My parents have taught me to be grateful for everything because it can always be taken away from you or forgotten. I think that they learned this lesson when immigrating to the US, how temporary things can be, but they can also be the only thing that ties you to the present. I think in this way, my parents are attempting to build the memory archive that Arjan Appadurai discusses in his text, Traumatic Exit, Identity Narratives, and the Ethics of Hospitality, to the objects that they kept and how it preserved memories. Appadurai argues that anxiety surrounds the memories of migrants because their lives are spread across, quote, the memory of the journey to a new place, the memory of one's own life and family world in the old place, and official memory about the nation one has left to be recombined in a new location. The memories of migrants are unique because they take place over many different countries and locations. So if we look at the memories of migrants in this way, which cultural memory do they contribute to? And how can they be included in their new country's collective memory? Appadurai argues that the memories of migrants also need to be remembered and recovered through the diasporic and migrant archive. So much of immigrant memory is about what is lost, their homes, families left behind, sometimes even language. Appadurai writes that migrants turn to the media for images, narratives, models, and scripts of their own story. Through media, migrants can preserve and remember the memories they have lost as communicative memory that, when compiled, composes a new cultural memory dependent of one's country and contribute to the migrant archive. This migrant archive centers voice, agency, and debate in order to tell stories beyond loss and need.
Hi everyone, my name is Selena, and for the second part of this presentation, I too would like to start off talking about my parents, specifically my father, as my mother has a different story. By himself at the age of 9 in 1965, my father walked hundreds of miles from Cambodia to Thailand only to be rejected. He then walked to Laos and stayed in a refugee camp until he was 11, where he reunited with his older brother. He then saved enough money to bribe people on a boat to America with his brother. In Appadurai's text, he talks about how the law does not support refugees becoming citizens because they are not characters, but individuals. People like my father were rejected citizenship and asylum from many countries because, in the eyes of their new hosts, they are truly nobodies. That is, they have no identity to fit their new circumstances. Essentially, unless you are famous, a super genius, or come from rich familial ties, something straight out of a movie or book, you are nobody in the eyes of the law. Countries like Germany, the UK, and America are like VIP clubs that only certain people can be a member of. This system is problematic as the narrative of a character is far different than that of individuals. Thus, there are lost narratives without any identity. In a way, my father had to have a little bit of money to even find refuge in America. It can only be imagined the thousands of others who never were able to find that. Appadurai proposes two solutions to this issue of citizenship. He states the first is to help the strengthening and deepening of migrant archives, seeing them not only as a storehouse of memory, but also as aspirational maps. Refugees are not just people who tell stories. They are people who were robbed of their opportunity to succeed, and that must be taken into consideration. The second solution Appadurai proposes is to find ways to make migrant narratives and identities a basis for secure citizenship, which will require rethinking the very architecture of sovereignty in the contemporary world. The way that the legal system works today is assuming that refugees are lesser than. The second proposed solution would then view them as people with a purpose, to conclude the memories of migrants and refugees are more than just their past and present, but also their future. Therefore, these people should not be regarded as lesser than in the eyes of the law. My father, being one of the lucky few to eventually obtain citizenship, proved his worth by being a businessman without even finishing high school. Think of all the people who could contribute to the country as well, if only given the chance of citizenship.